Hello all, it's your girl Tiffany, Madam-licious Black Beauty, your poetic psychic Pisces, High Priestess, aka the light that shines like a diamond, also known as your modern day nun, one whom isn't within a coven, a convent, or a covenant. I do thank you all for listening and for watching on tonight. If you would be so kind to please like, share, and subscribe, it would be greatly, greatly appreciated. This is going to be another one of my story time, so please sit back, relax, and enjoy tonight's story time. Yours truly, myself, Tiffany, also known as Diamond and or Poetic Psychic Pisces, High Priestess. Tonight's title of my story time is Unsung Sorrows. It is the untold story of Janice Jackal Whitten. Introduction. Only the sky was the limit for a young hopeful striving to be an up-and-coming superstar in the making. The starving artist had big dreams of fame and fortune one day as she sang her little heart out with inspiration. With the goal of being a world-renowned soulful singer, she was determined to let nothing stand in her way. Unfortunately, tragedy struck before the peak of success arrived for the young lady with huge aspirations, plagued with denials, delusions, deceptions, murder, abuse, neglect, mayhem, substance abuse issues, violence, criminal activity, sacrifice, mental illness, sabotage, jealousy, envy, and careless, reckless behavior brought this soulful singer's career of stardom to a tragic, abrupt end, which led her on a downward spiral out of control. Unsung Sorrows. Chapter 1. Growing Up Too Fast. Native to Detroit, Michigan, born an only child to Roger and Carolyn Whitten, yet unfortunately plagued with her father's unapologetic bastard children he made out of wedlock, half-siblings that persistently got on her nerves. A half-sister and brother, to be exact, whom Janice Whitten didn't care for at all, perhaps because she was a daddy's girl who expected to be the only apple of her father's eye. Janice grew up bitter and fell out of love with the first man who stole her heart, an unnatural obsession with the angry and abusive man who ruled with an iron fist yet was the first to take her innocence. Preaching and lecturing by day and a fornicating adulterer by night, both Janice and her mother Carolyn took their fair share of licks and relentless beatings from the man of the house. Mother dearest, Carolyn, wasn't any better, whom prided herself in pretending to be the world's greatest little godly Susie homemaker. A time when conservative women all too easily turned a blind eye to all father's misdeeds, like his lying, cheating, drunkenness, womanizing, abusing, molestation, and even rape. The trauma damn near drove Mother insane, which she took out on Janice by being physically abusive and neglectful, later being diagnosed with several different mental illnesses, which she was forced to take medication for. Regardless of all the family issues kept hidden behind closed doors, Janice grew up in the church, surrounded by hypocrites, which is where her talent was first discovered. At the tender age of 12, Janice was noticed by a promoter visiting their church who wasted no time becoming fast friends with Janice's father. The promoter, Eric Henderson, wanted to take Janice to see a music producer for a recording. Janice's father was all too eager to allow it for the right price. Eric and Reverend Roger Whitten made a deal between men for an undisclosed amount of money, which Janice never seen a dime of. Reverend Roger Whitten had literally just pimped his daughter out for the first time, and little Miss Promiscuous Janice had no idea it was the beginning of the rest of her tragic life. Of course, Eric wasted no time grooming Janice, fulfilling his own lustful desires before focusing on her singing career. Janice bounced back and forth between Eric and the music producer Damian Sanders, whom both had their way with her while her parents turned a blind eye. After all, Janice's father had spoiled her a long time ago, way before she was being prepared for the music industry. Janice was well on her way to starting her solo career, but she had become rather wild and out of control, often throwing tantrums and having explosive outbursts at home or school while craving her father's attention. The onset of her own mental illness, which ranged from severe depression, manic episodes, multiple personalities, and bipolar disorder, something in which she received on and off again treatment for, requiring medication that Janice refused to take. On occasion, she even frequented residential facilities for mental health treatments, which she hated. Janice, however, had no desire in school at all, and with all her attention focused on music and becoming the next famous superstar, she soon dropped out. Fast and hot in the ass, Janice learned at an early age she had to use what she had to get what she wanted, so she did just that. Chapter 2. Joining a band. During Janice's younger years, she performed many solo acts at local events, talent shows, and many concerts. By 15 years of age, Janice was singing back up with various different band groups, also landing gigs with up-and-coming popular artists whom which she traveled with on tour. In the meantime, in between time, Janice was persistently in the studio working on her own solo album, during which time Janice was exposed to a lot of things that ultimately had a negative effect on her. Janice quickly found comfort in alcohol and a variation of substances to take the edge off. Janice had earned the stage name Jackal as well. Unfortunately, her manner of behavior became habit-forming. After a while, not a day went by that Janice didn't crave liquor, marijuana, pills, and cocaine, which was often provided to her for free. In the entertainment world, everybody wanted something, so Janice sold herself short. A small sacrifice for a greater reward later, she thought. But she was surrounded by vultures and predators that preyed upon the young for their own ill wills. Janice's mother, Carolyn, whom is schizophrenic, couldn't control Janice, and her father, Roger, seeing her as a lost cause by now, yet had no issue at all with obtaining the compensation he received regularly for all of her work. However, when Janice became pregnant in her late teens, she clearly wasn't fit to be anybody's mother. The child's father remained nameless, seeing as Janice had several different sexual partners at home and on the road. The bastard boy child just became yet another pawn in Janice's game. The bulk of the responsibility lay upon Janice's family for the care of the child. Those in the know, however, are aware of the silent whispers about the paternity of the child's father, being either Janice's father himself or her brother-in-law, who she later claimed raped her, but they actually had sex willingly, all of which was covered up and never spoke of again. Just another dirty little secret in the Whitten family. Janice, still fired up and determined to continue to pursue her singing career. Everything Janice recorded in the beginning was seemingly a flop, never being played on the radio or making it to any Billboard charts with other credited artists. Nonetheless, Janice had made a splash in the entertainment industry and was well known, and was recognized as a soul singer. After a while, she did earn some lead vocals with the band group Royals. Janice even was offered some exclusive commercial deals, and by now had 2 singles that finally made it to the top 100, yet never made it past 50. Janice even sang alongside Jay Ziegler, a popular rapper from New York, which only by pure chance was an opportunity given to her last minute when they needed a replacement for another lead vocalist. It was no never mind to Janice, whom savored every minute of the limelight. Chapter 3, All Hell Breaking Loose. By the time Janice was in her 20s, she'd married, was pregnant with another child while on the road touring. Janice just couldn't maintain her behavior or tame her anger. Violent outbursts, fights, arguments, and manic episodes happened all too often. After the birth of her second child, yet and still not a loving, nurturing, caring mother arose. No, it was quite the opposite. Often absent, leaving her young with her naive husband while Janice's promiscuous behavior continued. While singing was still a passion of hers, after all, Janice didn't know how to do anything else, but partying, getting high, and drunk is all she cared about, both during and between gigs. Janice grew lazy in her craft, often running late or missing gigs altogether. Janice was a loose cannon, to say the least, making her difficult to work with. Yet Janice seen every other woman as competition in her field, acting as if she was better than any and everyone else that ever did it. Many altercations occurred between artists because of Janet's instability, and although she wasn't climbing the charts to earn that insta-famous title she so desperately desired, Janet still fancied herself and trying to live beyond her needs. Somewhere along the line, though, in the shadows, Janice made a deal with the devil and sold her soul for fame and fortune. Chapter 4, Tragedy Strikes. Between all the traveling to and from gigs, Janet's rambunctious nature and bad behavior led her to lying, cheating, stealing, and sneaking and creeping around, which unfortunately caused a lot of fighting, fussing, and cussing when she was home. Janice is your classic aggressive, abusive narcissist. All the years of built-up rage inside her due to childhood trauma caused her to explode on those around her, especially her lovers. See, Janice loved having a man taking care of her, but deep down she resented them, which resulted in her indulging in physical violence against them. Before long, ultimately, Janice Witten's marriage was over, and seeing as she wasn't fit mother, there was a nasty court battle. After full custody was granted to her second child's father, Janice lost all control and landed herself in jail. As if that weren't enough, not long after, Janice's father passed away, which caused her to have a complete mental breakdown. Janice's first child bounced back and forth from living with her mother and her stepsister, which is where he resided the majority of the time. Estranged from his mother for obvious reasons, Janice's first son and she didn't get along very well, and there was never any nurturing, loving energy between them, which led him to his own toxic ways and bad habits, resulting in drug use and gang activity. But everyone was surprised on the day the young man was gunned down, supposedly due to gang violence. Interesting enough, however, Janice and her firstborn son got into a really bad argument days before about drugs as well as money, and she wished her own son dead. Then, out of nowhere, it happened. But only those in the know is aware Janice Witten, in fact, had her own son blood sacrificed for her career, fame, and fortune, which she never actually got. In the end, I guess the joke was upon her, and from that day, it was the beginning of a bittersweet end. Chapter 5. Rejection. Not caring or trying to work a regular job, Janice was yet and still determined to live her best life and beyond her means by any means necessary. Janice was so full of herself and sure she was better than any and everyone else. With all of her reckless behavior over the years, no one wanted to work with her anymore. Janice was later dropped by the band she toured with, but to this day, she claims it was her decision to leave and become a solo independent artist, when in fact, she lost all of her major label contacts, who found her to be more of a liability than an asset. Janice deep down was heartbroken by this. She felt used up, abused, misled, and tossed aside. She had fucked her way to the top, signed bogus contracts, took the oaths, did the satanic and sexual rituals, and even blood sacrificed her own son. Yet she had nothing to show for it, since she literally blew every dime of what little fortune she made over the years, which wasn't much because before she turned 19 years old, her father confiscated all of her earnings. Between drug use, alcoholism, partying, and splurging on expensive things, Janice had nothing left to add insult to injury. She wasn't even paid what she was promised or given the deal with a major record label after the death of her oldest son. She got played by the industry and was now all alone on her own. Yet the industry still had a hold on her. Janice tried to revamp herself as an independent artist, playing and performing only at small venues, clubs, and bars. Studio time was very costly, so often without any favors, she wasn't recording any new music. After 2 flopped albums, only a few songs made the charts, yet she never reached the level of #1. Broke, busted, and disgusted, Janice's low earnings from small hole-in-the-wall gigs just wasn't enough to sustain her lifestyle. So eventually, she resorted to prostitution, per the advice of her handler that was still manipulating her. Being the radical rebel she was, although the industry cut ties, they kept a very close eye on her. Janice knew she would one day be used as a sacrifice herself by the goons in the industry. So her careless, reckless behavior continued, which worsened day by day. Chapter 6. Every day she hustled. One would assume Janice would snap out of the fairy tale La La Wonderland, but her mental health progressively worsened. However, from the outside looking in, it appeared Janice was getting along just fine. But being the master of illusion and not transparency she is, that just wasn't the case at all. Who knew, in the midst of all of Janice's bad habits, addictions, toxicity, and deception, she'd take a liking to witchcraft and spellwork. Perhaps trying to conjure her way back into the limelight, or maybe protection from all the demons that plagued her life, but she surely practiced such sorcery. After all, she do like to walk on the dark wild side. By now, Janice had swindled her another husband, who was just as needy as she was. But he came with benefits, so that was just up Janice's alley, being the money-hungry gold digger she is. She also bribed her mother to come live where she resided, so that she could control her financial benefits as well. And as if that weren't enough, she finally was able to persuade her youngest son to turn against his father and come live with her, too. Sadly, Janice cared about nothing and nobody but herself. She used everyone to her advantage, while waltzing around like she was some kind of famous superstar that never was. lying, cheating, stealing, and hustling all along the way. Janice acted like the world owed her something, and since no one was giving, then she felt it her duty to just take it. Janice is stubborn, a bully, mean, surly, loud, obnoxious, controlling, manipulative, aggressive, dominant, abusive, mentally ill, disrespectful, violent, narcissistic, and a habitual liar. Yet she is in complete denial of her cruel and unusual ways. Her supposed loved ones isn't even off limits either, because she manipulated, used, and abused them also, like unfortunately her son, mother, stepsister, as well as her husband endured. Janice loved those who stroked her ego and kissed her ass, but she used them too for whatever freebie she could swindle out of them. And anybody who didn't buy her bullshit or who called her out, she instantly was out for revenge. Her supposed new husband, Jeremy, isn't even really her husband. It's all fraudulent, just another ploy by Janice to front for her delusional small fan base. Nevertheless, Janice's games continued as she desperately tried to hide all of the unflattering sides of herself, including all her criminal activity. Sure, there is the drug use, prostitution, stealing, domestic abuse, but few are aware Janice is still being controlled by the industry, whom she remained under contract with even though she has no career. Janice is being used as a sex slave, having to travel from time to time to different states for sex parties and other random hookups. But Janice also makes extra money and get a blind eye turned on her crimes to partake in setting up junks, drug trafficking, human sex trafficking, and the grooming of the young. Small sacrifices for the music industry she once loved just to keep her afloat and alive. A purposely planted disinfo agent op amongst the masses, and none but a few seem to be the wiser. Chapter 7. Truth Hidden in Plain Sight. While Janice and Jeremy were all up and down the highways and the byways, indulging in mayhem, madness, and the occasional threesomes, per Janice's demand to lure in more victims, her elderly mother and son with disabilities often struggled or went without, considering Janice would leave them high and dry with little to no money every time she was on another one of her escapades. Most of the money Janice hustled out of her supposed husband and fragile mother was spent on lavish, expensive hotels, fancy feasts, drugs, alcohol, clubbing, bar hopping, and cigarettes. So many were ignorant to the misdeeds of Janice and her sidekick until eventually the truth that was once hidden was painfully obvious and clear to see. By now, Janice had all but given up on the few singing engagements she randomly was able to get. Every friend that tried to help her rebrand herself in an effort to relaunch her career, she burnt every bridge with them. She talked to them crazy, she was very disrespectful to them, even in their own homes. After years of staying rockstar wasted, Janice's voice just wasn't what it once was. She can barely hold a tune, let alone sing an entire song. With her old, outdated sound and extra ad-libs with long-winded, unnecessary pitches and ridiculous facial expressions, Janice just didn't have what it takes anymore. Janice grew angry by this fact, took her anger out on whoever she encountered, especially Jeremy. Their arguments and fights became explosive and very much public, getting them kicked out of many places. But to Janice's standards, when things was good, it was great. Weaseling their way into other people's lives to bribe and beg for whatever they desired, like a place to stay temporarily, food, money, a good time out and about, or even drugs. Janice had no respect for authority either. or other people's privacy. She overstepped her boundaries everywhere she went, like she was the greatest ever lived. She tempted and groomed people's children and tried to convince them to turn against their own parents, promising them fun, fame, fortune, and a job working with her. Janice hustled people to pay her way for everything. She'd go to hotels, spas, casinos, and restaurants, use their services, and act like there was a problem just to skip out on the bill. She owed so many drug dealers money that she got to the point where she started putting them on blast, trying to set them up to keep from paying. Janice would cause a scene in public places just to get attention, and the nerve of her to even act like she's Christian. Chapter 8. Getting It How She Lived. Dysfunctional Janice Whitten, also known as Jackal, had it bad dwelling on the past, constantly reliving the old memories which made her down and depressed, a trigger to her stress and mental illness. But of course, Janice being Janice, she refused help, counseling, and treatment. But of course, medication. All Janice wanted to do is win. Popularity became the main focus by any means necessary. Then Janice was introduced to the internet, and she felt like it was her big chance to make a difference, gain a big following, and hustle as much money as she possibly could. From then on, Janice manufactured scam after scam to rob and mislead the people. She started a fraudulent website and launched a phony women's group for victims, pretended to sell non-existent goods and products, joined social media platforms, and entertained paid interviews to expose the music industry's evil dark side she alleged wronged her and so many others, outing them as sinister demons. But Janice, of course, is a predator herself, who she claims learned from the best, and to this day still craved to be a part of the very industry she speaks against. Yet now, hell-bent on attacking all of her competition and other artists who made it and is currently rich and famous, which she hates with a passion, because she believed in her mind that should have been her. Janice is jealous, bitter, and angry, and often throws a temper tantrum whenever she can't get her way. So frankly, her endless rants and malicious attacks on other artists was purely out of hate. But she used that fact to her benefit and fed the eager, brainwashed masses who lust for gossip, drama, entertainment, mess, tragedy, and a good old-fashioned scandal. Janice unleashed a rampage, telling the tale of secret dealings, backroom deals, sex, drugs, music, and all the low-down, dirty details of other people's business, most of which she didn't even know personally, but had it out for them anyway, just because, as if her opinion mattered at all. Janice mixed facts with fiction and fantasy so good, she caressed lies with truth, which kept her audience hooked and confused. Of the few things she guessed right about, when it was brought to light, she was quick to say, "See, I told you so, I'm always right." But Janice is nothing more than a con artist, always painting herself as righteous and upstanding, but everyone else bad and awful. And honestly, Janice never said nothing that hadn't already been said before by others, or at least suspected. After all, everybody know how ruthless the industry can be, and all of the sneaky, freaky, creepy things that goes on behind the scenes. The Illuminati, selling your soul to the devil for fame and fortune, eyes wide shut mansion parties, blood sacrifices, satanic ritual abuse, and the list goes on. But Janice didn't stop there. She pried into people's marriages, talked about their relationships, called people out for being gay, sex trafficking, rape, drug abuse, and murder. Not even those people's children were off limits for Janice, as if she was some saint and mother of the year. Always flaunting the fact that she was bisexual, yet she disrespectful to the very gay community she claims to represent. Janice is beyond ridiculous, and it was only a matter of time before people began to see her true colors. The woman even compared herself as better than other very relevant female artists she despised, to the likes of which are Mary J. Blige, Alicia Keys, Nicki Minaj, Jill Scott, Erykah Badu, and so many more. She often even made a mockery of Beyonce and Rihanna, as if she could ever match any of their vocals. Her attacks even reached actresses and actors, producers, rappers, and athletes like Gabrielle Union, Dwayne Wade, Clive Davis, Will and Jada Smith, Common, Jay-Z, Diddy, and the list goes on. Janice is so arrogant, not even an ounce of respect for her elders, because she even found comfort in degrading people like Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight, The Temptations, Chaka Khan, Whitney Houston, and many, many more, all while claiming Aretha Franklin is her godmother. The woman is delusional, to say the least. Always craving for attention, priding herself on saying in interviews, "If I'm lying, sue me." But who in the hell sues someone who ain't got nothing? It's absurd. But let Janice tell it, all while being homeless and pitiless. She's got $40 million sitting in an offshore account overseas, which everyone knows is complete bull. Nevertheless, with the help of some fake friends, Janice became popular online with all of her shenanigans, as they helped Janice con the people and rob them of donations daily. That is until Janice crossed them too. If they didn't know, they know now. Janice is loyal to no one, not even her own culprits who help her scam and commit crimes. Chapter 9. And it all falls down. Janice's antics were amplified to the highest degree. Anytime she felt the attention or recognition was drifting away from her, always in search of the next big scheme, with the hopes of going viral. Her plots, plans, and stage outbursts became ridiculously predictable. Every other day was a new scripted scene to scam more money out of the unsuspecting people. Something she got away with for quite some time with the help of popular content creators, who of course was in on the setup for their own ill wills and compensation. From time to time, Janice even had a few popular collabs, one of which was a very popular, well-known celebrity witch, even a reality TV star, whom has a celebrity daughter in the industry as well as others, none of which was fooled by Janice's BS or lame games, and was likely sent in to collect intel for the industry. Regardless, it wasn't long before Janice stepped on toes, rubbed the wrong people the wrong way, or straight crossed kind individuals who tried to help her, which led to them all cutting off Janice with no regrets. Janice just couldn't leave well enough alone, though, and continued her madness. Although Janice made excuse after excuse for her behavior, every chance she got, blaming it all on post-traumatic stress disorder when she's in fact manic bipolar and suffering from multiple personality disorders, as well as much more, which she completely denies, yet has prescribed medication for. Janet's anger management issues and drug and alcoholism is a deadly combination with her mental illness. But between all of her paranoid drama, Janice stayed on the run, swearing people in the industry, the cartel, the mob, as well as random unspecified gangsters were out to kill her. She claimed she was being watched, followed, stalked, harassed, and even hacked. Oddly enough, Janice Whitten, also known as Jackal, is in fact a targeted individual who is also under heavy mind control and demonic possession. But no one has attempted to kill her as of yet, and she knows it, considering she is still being handled by shadowy hidden figures in the industry. The truth of the matter is, Janice is a puppet on the string and is looking for a new blood sacrificial lamb for her to come up in the game, which she thought would be her supposed husband, Jeremy Johnston, until there was a change of plans after she countlessly tried to set him up and fell. But in a twist of fate, everybody Janice encountered is aware she is actually the target and blood sacrifice, while they all smiled in her face. Furthermore, Janice self-sabotaged all too well on her own, and everybody just sat back waiting for the wrecking ball crash dummy to self-destruct. Over the past few years, Janice has managed to publicly disrespect government officials, police officers, business owners, public servants like airport attendants, as well as she has committed countless crimes from fraud, identity theft, theft of property, arson, elder abuse, child abuse, spousal abuse, embezzlement, bribery, terroristic threatening, animal cruelty, domestic violence, trafficking, assault, desecration of the deceased, jumping bail, and so much more that she has been sent to jail or mental institutions for. What no one with any common sense has ever thought to think about is why it is Annis has gotten away so long with such ridiculous stunts. Annis even managed to lose her alleged husband after attacking him publicly and kicking him to the curb for a younger cult member she had an affair with. After, of course, her and her husband had already had a threesome with him together. But the jealous Jeremy just couldn't keep his cool, which led to other events taking place. Also, an abducted traffic victim she was using for money as well. Jeremy had enough, so he left and never returned, even after all Janice's threats to him as well as his family. Janice even thought she was so clever she could take over the New Nation cult. She so desperately wanted the power to have a big cult following. When that didn't work out, she set her sights on Rena, the traffic victim. She was hustling for her disability check and tried even pimping her out. Eventually, when that too fell and Janice ran out of content, she turned to her mother and son to exploit, whom all ended up homeless after Janice refused to pay the bills since she no longer had Jeremy's check or Rena's check. Only income was that of her mother and whatever scam donations she could hustle up by the public who supported her. But Janice didn't do the right thing at all and splurged it all on nonsense. In mental conflict and defeat, Janice still thought she had her very own reality show online, which continuously lost ratings by the minute. When it was all said and done, Janice lost her only lifeline, which was her mother, son, and the last few popular content creators she didn't appreciate for helping her. After jumping bail for previous charges and fleeing to another state, Janice was soon apprehended and sent back home to go to jail, at least for a little while, until her two little crew could raise the money to bail her out of jail, which she neither thanked them for or repaid them for their efforts. She did manage to cop her a girlfriend, which was just another victim of Janice. She used her for a bail signing, money, new content, and anything else she could because she never really loved or cared about her at all. Janice went over and beyond to exploit and disrespect and degrade her supposed girlfriend online for the entire world to see. But when the money ran out and the abuse became physical, Tina knew it was time for her to go, especially when Janice got to the point she would ignore her for any paying John on any day. And just like Jeremy, she too was kicked to the curb and left hanging. As of now, Janice is hotel hopping and turning tricks to survive from one day to the next, yet and still hustling whomever she can, pull by her BS rants and listen to her never-ending tales from the crypt past. She's also currently missing court dates and likely trying to skip bail yet again. Janice Jekyll Witten has never recorded another album. She no longer even puts forth the effort to book paying gigs, only the occasional Jekyll Okie, which is her version of karaoke and is a complete mess to say the least. The end. Thank you all so much for listening and for watching another story time with yours truly, Poetic Psychic Pisces, High Priestess. Please like, share, and subscribe. It will be greatly, greatly appreciated. Remember, that is your free way of showing your support to the channel. And as always, I thank you all so very much in advance. Also, guys, I would like to say that my story times are for your entertainment purposes only. So, of course, you all know to govern yourselves accordingly and not jump to conclusions, because my story time is not about any particular persons, places, or things in particular. Okay? For those of you who would like to contact me, you can do so at tiff.diamond36@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Instagram, which is shinebrightlikeadiamond36 with the underscore between each word. For those of you who are feeling generous and would like to show your contribution to the channel, your support of the channel by making a donation, you can do so through Cash App, which is $TiffDiamond36, or through PayPal, which is paypal.me/@36diamond. As always, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, but most of all, take care of your babies, honey. Remember, this is a wicked, wicked world that we live in. There is wickedness in high places, and there is evil that is lurking around each and every corner, even in a neighborhood near you. So y'all watch your surroundings. Watch the company you keep. Watch surroundings in the company in which your children are in as well. And considering the fact that you never know when someone may betray you, backstab you, try to hurt you, or harm you, honey, keep you some protection on you. Y'all stay awake, stay aware, stay vigilant, and stay prepared. Because if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, baby. Until the next time, peace, love, and light. Namaste. I am that I am, created in the image of God.